I'm Amanda Stein, and I am sitting down with Don LaGreca, the new play-by-play voice of the New Jersey Devils on MSG Networks. How does that sound, Don?
It sounds amazing. It's been something that I've wanted for such a really long time. So I'm very proud, very excited. It is just to hear somebody else say it is really cool. Really cool.
And maybe just take me through that moment of hearing that you were going to be the new play-by-play voice and what sort of went through your brain.
It's so it's so surreal. Whenever you get a phone call now, you wonder, okay, is this going to be the day where they're going to say we've decided to move on? And when I got the call from MSG and they asked me, was I interested? I just exploded like, absolutely, I'm interested. Of course, this is my dream job. I had auditioned for it 3 years ago and came close, but didn't get it.
Hmm.
And I thought, considering everything that had gone on, that maybe that ship sailed, that was going
Right.
to be it for me. And then I had to sit on it for 2 weeks. And they said, keep it in a cone of silence. And I did. The only person that knew was my wife. And then everything's within like about a 3 day period, just all came together.
For you, what was it like that 2 weeks of having to
Very,
keep that cone of silence?
it was so stressful because, when you've got this piece of news and there's so many people that I wanted to tell,
Hmm.
um, people that I grew up Devil fans with, people that I work with, it was really difficult to just kind of like when they were asking me, so how many Ranger games do you think you're going to get this year? And all that. And like, I had to just like play the fool. And it was really hard because I was just so excited to tell people. That's why yesterday just blew me away to finally be able to let people that I was close to know. And that just made it so much fun. But those 2 weeks they were amazing because I was like living in my own head, fantasizing what it was going to be like, but not being able to share with anybody, with the exception of just my wife, just made it a little difficult. But it was a nice problem to have.
And then who maybe were you most excited to share it with? Maybe someone along your broadcasting journey or, who you would really know would understand what it meant to you.
Probably one of the most emotional ones for me was Michael Kay. I had worked with Michael for 22 years on the show, and Michael went through the same experience that I did. And so I knew he'd be able to understand it better than anybody because Michael grew up a Yankee fan and he got a chance to do Yankee radio and eventually go on Yes. So our journeys were very similar in that sense. And working with him and him helping me make the transition to play by play and also juggle having to do a show. So we were kind of kindred spirits and we've known each other for so long. It really worked out yesterday that he was in studio when we were together. So when I got to tell him, it was really an emotional time because we had been through so much together, and he was so proud that I had gotten the Ranger gig back, almost 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And he helped me through that, and to see my dream come true, he was just so happy for me. And we had him on the air, and he said that the only time he was happier was when he got the Yankee gig. So that made me feel a little emotional too. So that there was a lot of people, Amanda, but that was the one that I was really looking forward to. And he was one of the last people I told before the release came out, just for
Mhm.
circumstances. So ended up saving the best for last.
Now, what have the New Jersey Devil? I mean, you talk about how exciting it's a dream come true. What has this team meant to you? And now to be able to be part of this franchise.
It you know, my first game was February 22nd, 1987. My one of my best friends, John Stark, took me. He was a Devil fan, and the hockey was one of the last sports I got into because my dad wasn't a fan.
Hmm.
My dad got me into the Giants. My dad got me into the Mets, and he just was not a huge hockey fan. Well, the Rangers were good. We'd watch games together, and I desperately wanted to go. And I remember my dad saying to me, there's going to be a team coming to New Jersey. Maybe you'll go. And then when I finally got my driver's license, my buddy sent me, and from that day on, it just became almost an addiction for me. My now wife, then girlfriend, had partial season tickets in 1988. I went to all the home games for the run to the conference final. So the Islander games, the Washington games, and then eventually when they lost to Boston, and I was absolutely hooked from that day on. And being in the building in '95, being in the building in 2003, getting to know Ken Daneyko through the business and calling him a friend, it was something I was just so passionate about. Never missed a game. And I was always interested in the broadcast side of things, Amanda. I'm just going to grab something really quick.
Yeah, go, no
All right.
problem.
In 1989,
Okay.
I was in the Devils fan club, and I got uh, I got to sit with Jim Corn. That was a dinner with a devil.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to know Jim Corn. He wasn't a devil for long, but I loved him. It was somebody Lou brought over from Providence, and he couldn't show up.
Right.
So they put me at the broadcast table. And I'm like, if I knew there was a broadcast table, I would have chosen that. And so I got to sit with the late Peter McNabb, who was salt of the earth, great human being, Chris Moore, who was the radio voice, and Gary Thorne, who was the TV play-by-play guy.
Mm.
And I was thinking to myself, I need to do this. I need to do play-by-play. I need to be around this team closer than just being a fan. And I still have the table sign from it, right? Table
That's
A. And I
incredible.
don't know if you could see,
I
like
can
right
see, yeah.
here are the autographs. And Gary Thorne said, "To Don, good luck in broadcasting, Gary Thorne." And we had him on the K show during the pandemic, and I told him that story, and he thought it was great. And so I keep thinking about that story every time I'm like pinching myself that I got this gig that when I was 21 at the time, sitting at this table with these broadcasters, now becoming one of them for this team. So, kind of a long-winded answer, but the Devils have been like pumping through my blood for so long. I had to put it in hibernation for the time doing the Rangers, but it's. I mean, I keep thinking about that and just this. Again, this thing's old and wilted, but it's a
But
reminder of how long I've
powerful,
been a
right?
fan.
It's very
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah.
Certainly. What do you think of when you think of where the team is now, what Tom Fitzgerald has been building, and that you're going to get to be the voice of a lot of these memories that you're creating, you're helping bring to life, I should say, for this next generation of fan base who are, just as you were inspired, you're going to be the voice of that for so many people.
It's a great point because, not growing up in a hockey household and my dad not being a fan, the announcers taught me the game.
Hmm.
So when I listened to the game, I listened intently to all those broadcasters, whether it was, you know, Gary, Steve Albert back in the day, or then transitioning to Gary and Doc, and even listening to, Sam Rosen with the Rangers or Jiggs McDonald with the Islanders. They taught me the two-line pass, what offside was, what icing was, oh, and then it just reminds me when I broadcast that there might be somebody listening or watching the game for the first time that's going to learn the game through me. And one of the best compliments I ever got was that, "Hey, Don, I wasn't much of a hockey fan, but you made me a hockey fan with your passion and how much you love it." And I thought the same thing, like that's how I learned the game. So to be able to look at this era, there's a distinct difference. Like the Devils were all about Lou Lamoriello, and their championships came from Lou, and he built this team when he came from Providence in '87, and built this team from nowhere to into a perennial champion. I think this team is now searching for its post Lou identity, and to have a team that isn't about defense necessarily, where their best players are Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer and Martin Brodeur in goal, that even though they're a great defenseman and Markstrom's a great goaltender, to have Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, to have Jesper Bratt, to have these really great offensive players, the team has never really been about offense first. It feels like this is an exciting, fun team to watch, and it feels like it's about ready to pop if they could stay healthy. So to be a part of what could be this new era and maybe actually be the voice of that next generation of Devil fans makes me feel old, but it does get me really excited about the future with this team. It feels like the timing is perfect that they're about to become something really big.
Now, is when you got the job, when you heard about it, was there a game specifically? Obviously, we don't know the schedule and all that, but that was like, oh, I can't wait to either be in that building with the Devils or, call a game against. Maybe the easy one would be the Rangers. But is there anything specifically that sort of you thought of?
No, it's interesting because I'm one of these people. I remember being in Calgary with the Rangers, and Jeff Gorton, who was the general manager at
Yep.
the time. came over to me. There's the popcorn over in
Yes,
Calgary,
I know
and
it
he says
well.
to me, he's like, "Bull, you drew the short straw here, having to come out to Western Canada." And I'm like, "No, this is like where hockey is to me, to walk over the ice in Calgary, because
Yep.
I'm not afraid of heights. To go to Edmonton, to go to old Rexall Place, like that was the first time I'd
Hmm.
gone there. To go to Vancouver, like I live for those moments, and I know you're Canadian, so but so to go there, but I think where it's really going to hit me is Montreal. Montreal to me is the best place in the world for hockey. My wife's a Canadians fan. I think I told you that.
Hmm.
But the Bell Center, the first one of the first things I did in the business in 1997, I worked at Sports Phone, which a lot of the kids have no idea what that is. It was a number where you call to get scores. And for 15 bucks, I'd get paid to go cover games. So I decided in 97, I'm going to drive up to Montreal. I'm going to cover every Devil playoff game in 97. In the first round, they played Montreal. So I covered the games at the Meadowlands. And then on my own, just drove up to Montreal, the stayed at LaChante Sheridan on my own dime and covered those games. So I was in the building when Marty scored the goal against Montreal at the Meadowlands. I was up there at the Bell Center, like covering. It was like my first time getting to be around the team, going into the locker room, covering a team during the playoffs. And so to have it come full circle, to go up to Montreal to call a Devil game, instead of just being there as a reporter to be able to call it. So I think the Canadian cities are amazing. Montreal is going to probably be the most fun. As you said, going back to the Garden is going to probably be surreal for me. But honestly, not to be corny, like every building has a memory for me. I've yet to call a game in Seattle or Utah. The times the Rangers played the Kraken, I did it off the monitor.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to going there. But Montreal, outside of the local places, it's going to be kind of surreal to go back to the Bell Center and to call a game there.
You've endeared yourself to me even more so with with that
I
one.
could get I don't know if I ever had this conversation with you. I can give you 1,000 guesses. You'll never guess who my wife's favorite Canadian was.
Who was it?
It was Patrice Brisebois.
Oh wow, I know him. I know him well.
Yes.
That's so funny.
So everybody's like, oh, was it Patrick Waugh? I was like, no, it was she liked Patrick Waugh too, but so Patrice Brisebois. That's a nice name drop for a lot of people up there.
I love that. I love that. And then, I'm just thinking about what you're talking about, going to all these different places. What excites you about that different level of grind that a play-by-play, someone who's with the team all the time is exciting for you, right? It's a whole lifestyle in and of itself, but you embed yourself in a different way with a team when you are one of those people.
Oh yeah, I've always said it's the closest thing to being a player, honestly. I've never been good enough to be a professional athlete, but I have a sense of what it's like by, traveling on the charter, going to the hotel, riding the buses, going to the morning skate, going to practices. It's like really the closest thing to being a player because you're kind of going through not the physical grind that players go through where they're working out and on the ice, but the mental and the preparation of just being a part of it. But that's what psychs me about it obviously being the Devil broadcaster is exciting just because that's the team I grew up following.
Hmm.
But to be a part of a team, you are a part of the team. You're not on the outside like a reporter covering it. They cover it and they're part of the grind, but they're not part of the team.
Yeah.
Uh, Tom Fitzgerald texted me today, congratulating me on the gig. I mean, that's amazing. Like when I was in the hospital with COVID, unfortunately, a few years ago, and Chris Drury texted me, asked me how I was doing. I'm like, that makes you feel like you're part of something. I remember talking to Chris. I was like, that was nice that you text me. He's like, hey, you're part of the team,
Hmm.
and that's amazing. So that's why I don't. It's a grind for sure, and I've got 7-year-old twins, so it's tough sometimes to leave on the trips, but we're lucky to be in the to Metropolitan Division where the trips aren't that long
Yeah.
and that far. But just to being a part of the organization to me is it's so exciting. So it doesn't feel like a grind, even though you're right, it is.
I definitely know that feeling you're talking about. And then lastly, what does it feel like to go from watching Dano on the ice as a fan and he is now going to be your partner in crime?
It's that's also surreal because I always connected with Kenny. Like even when I was doing shows at ESPN there during their 2003 Cup run, he always had time to come on the show. I remember doing a draft special show in '04 when Ovechkin was drafted and going to the Devils facility and interviewing him and him being so gracious and giving his time. I have a charity softball game every year that he comes to every single year, which I absolutely love. I was at the Somerset Patriots game when he got in at bat years ago there. And so I feel like, he's a friend to be able to work with him as a colleague, and I can't wait to be able to work with him and learn from him. So he's Mr. Devil, right? He was there from the very beginning. He was there for all three Stanley Cups. He's a Jersey. He invited me to his barbecue when they won the cup in 2003.
Really?
And I didn't know what to expect. I was with my wife. I said, we got like a box of Entenmann cookies. I don't know if we and we get there and it's I think they might even had a Ferris wheel and then horses. It was just this big, huge party, and there were like thousands of people there. And but I got to go to Kenny's house. He let me drink out of the cup, so listen, him being a friend is the greatest thing in the world, but like to work with him, to hang with him, because he's a good hang, I'll tell you that. So I can imagine what it's going to be like on the road with him. We had him on the show yesterday, and he was doing a show at the NHL Network, and he said, I'm doing my traditional smoking my cigar before I go into the building. He's like, we're going to be doing that, Donnie, on the road. I'm like, all right. He's already got me, pumped up for those road trips. So no, it makes it so much fun to be able to work with him.
Well done. Welcome to the New Jersey Devils family. We're so excited to have you as our broadcaster, as our play-by-play man, and the enthusiasm that you're bringing now. I cannot wait to see it sort
Oh,
of translate to our broadcast, which I think the season starts like just over 3 months from now.
yeah,
So,
it's a while to get prepared because I want to do this right, Amanda. Because being a fan of the team, you fight for hockey, right? But you
mhm.
fight as a Devil fan too. You got two other teams in the market, and to represent New Jersey now with the Nets gone, it's the only team professional team that represents New Jersey. So I want to be able to honor those fans and do the best job for them, and hopefully they'll forgive me for my 20 years with the Rangers, and I'll be able to prove to them that I truly am not just saying it, but this is a team that I've loved since I was a kid.
I love it so much. Thanks, Don.
Thank you.